Hello, all. I am embarking on this whole big thing myself, and I thought I would share all these resources with you. Basically, when I'm in normal conversation with people and I'm just talking about what I'm doing, it turns out I'm saying a lot of stuff that like people don't know about that is useful for them. So here we are, hopefully sharing something useful. So when I say monetize yourself, it's not like how to turn your personhood into a product. It's more like how to just use what you have and flaunt it. You know, take a little time to basically monetize what you do in your everyday life. So for me, I love talking with people and listening to their stories. And I also love writing, but I love sharing resources and information. So it's a lot of research on my end, a lot of very time-consuming things where I want to share all this with people and make everyone like productive and happy as humans, and we're all friends. But then I forget, like, oh, I kind of need to make a living, and research and analysis is super time consuming. How do you do that balancing a full-time job or any job? I mean, it's a huge mental shift, you know? So basically, how do you support yourself doing what you're going to do anyway, doing what you love, and still being able to be part of society, buying food to eat, and so on? My solution for myself is, blogging. And I know that sounds like, well, I don't know what that sounds like. Some people think it sounds like, and some are like, go on. So I'll go on. Basically, you make a website, you pour all your expertise into it, and you create essentially free resources for other people to learn from you, from your perspective, your opinions, from your own experience. You know, you don't have to be some sort of certified expert. You know, if you're passionate about it and you want to communicate it, good. You put it out there, and while it's free for a viewer, right? They stumbled upon your blog, they're reading, they're getting something out of it without having to pay themselves. You receive payment for your time by adding ads, essentially ads to your website, partnerships to other websites, affiliate links to any products you may be, you know, talking about. For example, if you're, if you're like really into camera equipment or something, right? Or you're into like new tech products, you're into knitting, I mean, really anything. You could essentially link to those items, and there are all these different platforms. First, everyone knows about, well, people know about Amazon affiliates. So there's all these things where like you link to this product, but you get a little percentage every time someone makes that purchase because it's your own special link, right? So by doing all that, by taking the time to set these things up, you're able to then just continue on and spend your time doing what you love, making enough money to support yourself. So that's just one aspect of what I'm doing. Another one is, for example, Patreon, right? Or OnlyFans, which a lot of people seem to think is only porn, but it's not, but it could be if that's your thing. These platforms where you put in resources, you put in, your videos you make, how-to guides, tutorials, how to make a cake. Like, it doesn't even matter. And people will pay you, a once monthly stipend to support you, be patrons, hence Patreon, things like that. Oh my God, there's so many different things. That was kind of like a quick overview of everything I can talk about. I am not like, where should I begin? Do you guys want to know like why this is even like important, or more details about what I'll be doing, or do you want to throw out there some things you were curious about? Because I can go in any direction. So
I'm pretty curious about like First of all, what brought you to this point of like using these methods to monetize yourself, and sort of like your strategy of it all? Like, what do you monetize? How do you choose what type of content to monetize? And then also like what channels you currently use to do so.
Ooh, wow, that's so good. Hopefully you will remember those questions and I'll like answer them and you can remind me.
Awesome.
Okay. So what brought me here was just the fact that I realized like so full-time job, not super my thing. I've been freelancing, since college, undergrad, and I've just continued. I've done contract work, I've done part-time jobs. I've done like all these different things, and everyone wants the freedom to do what they want to do. But then there's the whole money thing, being able to support yourself so you can actually do those things consistently. So I'm at the point where I realized, or this was a little while ago, organize everything that you like to do as a person. Maybe just make a list, right? And figure out, this is what I do every single day. Like, make a list of what you do every single day. And then you go, how can I just make money off of this so I can continue doing what I love, right? And it really has to do with a lot of organization, setting boundaries with people, parameters for yourself. Through freelancing as a web and graphic designer, you learn things through experience. So I learned, you need contracts with people so that way you're not overworking yourself. There's a deadline, there's a finite point, and they're paying for your time as well as your work. I learned you can't do things just through email. You want to automate things. So, for example, there's a platform called Dubsado that I've praised a lot. It's Dubsado, and it's a platform where you can put in your contracts, your calendar, these step-by-step like packages for your sales, and then I'm like getting so distracted when people ask. And then it's all automated. So that's another aspect. Once you organize things and you start thinking, well, I'm not turning myself into a product. I'm simply trying to put a price on my time and my work and my energy and what I do. Let's see what I actually do every day. Then you can start going, well, okay, who else is doing this? Do a little research, and it takes some time, but it's time you're going to spend on this anyway because you do these things every day. So that's when you're like, okay, now that I've organized this list of things I do, and I see that I can talk about them maybe in a blog, or I can start, making my own packages for people where I do, like Glenn, you do freelance stuff, right? So, people can choose different tiers of my skills to provide them my services, right? You organize, and then you go, okay, well, this is how I'm going to start making an income doing what I love. Like I said, I learned this the hard way by taking a lot of time and no organization, just going, I can do a thing. I'll do this thing for other people and they'll pay me. Great. Not realizing that when the other person doesn't know how to do that thing or they have an expectation set, there's a lot of things you forget. And so just starting very small and saying, building up your profile, your persona, your expertise, right, in a certain area, you can take the time to build something bigger, right? So that's why I keep coming back to talking about blogging or vlogging videos, right? YouTube, for example, depending on how particular you are. I have a film degree, and because of that, like all of the time I've spent making videos, I have a very hard time just doing things on my phone. Like I need to get over that though. But taking just a little time to put your voice out there draws a bigger audience to you. Maybe you start like a mailing list, right? maybe which can be free through MailChimp, for example. You just put a little link, hey, subscribe, and every week I'll send out my latest blog posts, right? And it's a copy and paste, however you want to do it. It's not super time consuming, but you set aside that time to do it. And people are now coming to you, and what are they doing when they come to you? Loading ads that you've taken the time to put on your website through Google AdSense, for example. And now you're getting at least a little revenue or profit, hopefully, from what you're doing anyway, from just sharing what's on your mind, right? Sharing what you know, sharing what you do anyway. And that's blogs, and with YouTube, there's YouTube ads, monetizing through ads. That's another thing as well. So it's all ads. And as you continue to grow this following and your voice and the trust people have in you, by just being yourself and sharing what you're going to do anyway, that's when you can start making products. You will have the income to be able to focus on this stuff a little more, right? So you're not like worried, oh my God, I need these 3 other jobs just so I can do this. You'll have the time because now with less scrambling, you can focus on this, and you'll just be able, from everything you're doing, to grow a product that people who follow you now will actually buy. So that's kind of where I started, the thought process and the progression. Did that answer some parts of your question?
Yeah,
okay.
That was awesome.
Okay. And I do have a list, like a little list of resources. It's funny, I'm saying a bunch as I'm speaking, and they're not even on that list, so this is interesting. So what I'm doing, I think that was your next question, right? Like what I'm going to be using?
Right.
Okay. So there's, for example, if you're making a blog, and I'm going to talk about actually social media influencing in a moment, because I'll be doing that. It's exciting stuff. It's like a whole new world. So there's WordPress. There's WordPress.com, for example, which is free. Maybe it's $13 if you want to pop a domain name on there. But it's just a blog. It's just a running blog. Then there's WordPress.org you would go to if you want to learn more about the software, the actual website builder. You could host your WordPress site on a platform that hosts. It's a whole thing, I don't know who would be listening to this, how much they do or don't know about web hosting. That could be another conversation. There's also other platforms where you have a website builder that you make it look really nice, and it hosts the website in one package, right? So you're paying one person, doing everything in one place. I really prefer that. So I use Squarespace.com, and I vacillated. I actually built another WordPress website for myself this summer and determined that it's not something I wanted to deal with. So I went back to Squarespace, and this is where I made my own website, and I have a blog, and you just copy and paste an ad code from Google AdSense once you set up your profile into this code block that you've literally dragged and dropped onto your website if you're using Squarespace, and then it auto-generates this ad. That's a super simplified version, but that's how it works. That's what I'll be doing. I have a website and blog and all this, but I'm making a new one, and it's all this new branding stuff, which I love doing. So that's fun. So there's that. And then, once as well, you start getting a lot of site visitors, more site traffic, and so on, you can actually reach out to other ad agencies, like beyond Google AdSense, right? These ad agencies will pay you to put their ads on your website. So of course, you choose your category, your genre, your target audience, whatever, and they give you the ads from the people who pay them, and they pay you. So you just keep going up and up and up in everything you're doing. Just a side note, like if you go to The Guardian, I think the news website, like that is atrocious It is covered in ads. Every time I try to read something, a new ad loads, and because of the sizes, it like pushes all the content up and down, and it's very frustrating. I would not recommend that. That's just a side note. That's what I'm doing there. Then there's YouTube. Now, part of this is me realizing there's a way in which I feel a need to communicate and a way in which other people will receive information from me. I have been told my entire life that people can listen to me talk for a very long time. People like listening to my stories. People like watching me speak. And I went to film school, okay, all of that. And yet I'm only writing. Like I have this need to write, but it's not being received by the people I want to hear this information because I'm not listening to how they receive it. So I will also be making a YouTube channel, finally, and making videos about all the things that people have always, oh, I want to hear about that. I love this. It's not only what they want to hear, in my storytelling style, say. It's also the information that I would write about anyway. And then I will be linking in the YouTube description area to the associated blog post with that information in a written format because I have it already. I can't stop making content. I'm a writer. So, also this is I'm just going to keep going on YouTube. This is just like a little, if you're planning on making a YouTube, here's a suggestion. Consistency on anything is key because consistency builds trust. And so a lot of people, when they start a YouTube, they'll make one video and post it, another video and post it, and ultimately that means you're not able to grow and do different things because you're just trying to keep up with one video a week. I would say, honestly, make 20 to 30 videos and put them up all at once and have another 10 already ready to go that you've scheduled out, at least on a calendar, week over week, right? That way you can take your time making new content. If something comes up, it's not bad. And people who are seeing any of these first 20 or 30 videos, well, that's the whole thing. They'll go to your profile and see you have more content. They'll be able to get a bigger picture of who you are and what you do and talk about, growing your subscribers that much faster. I also follow Sean Cannell, Cannell, I believe. And he is a huge, all these tips, tons of YouTube tips, tons of growing your audience, awesome stuff. So, another resource for you. I would also say, now I'm getting into the social media influencing stuff. You don't need to put photos of yourself on Instagram to grow any sort of community, any sort of channel, platform, whatever, at all. I'd say put photos that, maybe not a bunch of blurry cell phone photos, unless literally that's your aesthetic and what you're doing. But there's free stock photo websites, for example, like Pexels.com, Pexels.com. That's my favorite website. And, if you're strapped for content too, maybe every other photo is something that you've taken and then a stock photo. And it's really about the description that you're writing and the content, because despite the fact that it's a very visual platform, if you establish and assert that what you do is provide discourse or written content, and you're putting that in descriptions, the followers, the people that you want to reach out to will be following you. They're not just looking at your photos because they're pretty photos. They actually want to engage with you, your mind, your perspective, opinion, expertise, learn from you, and be a part of something. So, of course, you have to... Something that I hear a lot when people are very frustrated with social media, it's... I think I'm kind of going all over the place a little bit, but hopefully you guys are learning something. One thing that I would say, don't make social media accounts with the intent to here's my stuff, okay, bye. It's about engaging with people and growing a community around what you're doing. So you want to find similar accounts, people you might consider competitors, but hey, like, make them a friend. Reach out to them, learn from them, look at the hashtags they're using, look at like the people who like their stuff, look at those people's profiles, explore those same hashtags, like see what's going on, and you will find, like, if you've already found people who have your target audience, just like there they are, you know, check out who they are, target them.
So I'm sorry, this is Glenn. I have to drop off from the meeting, but I enjoyed the talk. It's very interesting. But thanks so much.
Yeah, well, thank you. Nice to meet you, Glenn. Yeah.
Bye.
Bye. Oh, that was nice. Okay. So, going on with social media. So, for example, I'll be using Instagram a lot. I honestly have no idea how to use TikTok. Like, I know how to watch things. That's as much as I've got. Like, the video editing in the app is very foreign to me. It's like almost, maybe it's too easy, or maybe it's like too new. It's kind of sad to admit that, but yeah, Instagram is my level. So here's the cool thing. There are companies such as, if you go to me.heartbeat.com, for example, or maybe it's just heartbeat.com, like your heart beating. It's an influencer platform, as is another platform called Perlu, Perlu, and that is, there we are. Those are two different platforms, and I'll share them, where they pay you to post whatever products other companies on that platform want to share, right? Because social commentary, you know, having real people use your product looks a lot better, basically. So you can start posting. You can make a profile on heartbeat.com, on perlu.com, and you can start finding what these companies are posting. Like, they do these open calls, like, we're looking for 5 people or however many people to buy, so to maybe buy our product, but post about it, and then we'll pay you. So here, I mean, there's different tiers, right? Depending on how many followers you have, depending on how many other things you've done like this. You know, sometimes you'll get, oh, we'll give you a discount when you buy our product, and you can post about it. So, like, you're still spending money. Do you want the product? Okay. Then there's the whole, you know, here's a free product, you can post about it, great. So they're just paying you with the product. Then there's, here's a product and we'll pay you. Or maybe you buy the product and we'll pay you, and hopefully the pay is greater than what you spent on buying the product. Either way, it's, you know, you get the bigger deals, of course, the more followers you have because you have more reach, right? So, hi, Sean. So, basically, I'm starting at just under 1,000 followers on Instagram. Now, again, this goes back to the idea that people have been telling me what they want from me, and I have a way that I want to communicate. But if the people who will follow me and I want to get to, like, I want to reach these same people who want to follow me, but I'm not communicating in a way that they're going to receive it, like, nothing's going to happen for either of us. And that's probably why a lot of people feel like, oh, no one's hearing me, no one's listening to me, because you're not communicating in the way that your audience needs to, like, be spoken to or communicated with. So again, people tell me they like looking at photos of me. People click on the photos of me. They read the descriptions of things that I write. So I'm still reaching people with my words, with my thoughts, opinions, research, things I want to share. But now I'm like, oh, why have I been not posting photos of myself? Like, that's kind of crazy. It's, again, this is why I'm bringing this up. Monetizing what you do anyway. You exist. You exist in and of yourself, like, anyway. Take a photo of it. Done. So that's where, you know, I mean, that's not necessarily all that you have to offer, right? But figure out how to communicate with the people you want to communicate with, pull them in, and then give them what either you think they need or what you need to say to them, right? It's sort of like the principle behind SEO, right? It's like find your target audience and look at what they're searching for. Use those search terms, they'll find you, and then actually tell them what they need, not just what they think they want. So that's where I am on the influencer side of things. So that's what I'm starting to build now with Instagram. Literally what I do every day is existing, posting photos of that, and I'm going to connect that again to my writing, my YouTube, and all these other things, making a sort of little universe, like a little world, a little web of me. And because the content is like I'm writing something and then I'm recording a video about it and then I'm taking a photo and linking to it, it's not this overabundance of creating new and different content, right? It's stuff that I do anyway. It's my thoughts, my research. I'm just writing down, which I would do anyway, and I'm sharing it, and I'm just putting it in different formats. You don't have to spread yourself across all different formats. I like to, so I will. And by doing this too, by me doing this, I'm then able to test all these things and help more people do this for themselves, whether they pick one platform or like 20, right? So, you know, yeah.
That was awesome. Thank you, Geena. No, seriously, that was awesome. That you basically answered all of. I think I asked like a billion questions in my question, so you answered all of them.
Sure. Oh, good.
My next question would be sort of like, especially during the pandemic. So like this whole thing is about like how do we monetize ourselves, things we would do normally during the pandemic. But then another thing to consider is like the effects that a pandemic might have on you as a person, your mental health, your just like overall mood and tone every day. So I have a friend who's currently trying to monetize himself on the Twitch platform, doing like live streaming and gaming, but he himself is not really feeling. He's struggling mentally with the state of like what's happening with the world right now, and it's making it more difficult for him to do things. Like how do you manage like your personal health and your like this feeling that you have to create this consistent content like every day or every other day, every week?
That's like, okay, that's like a bunch of questions and I'm going to answer them and they might not be in that same order, but good. I'm totally gonna hit all that.
Yeah, totally.
Okay, perfect. That's great. Those are great. Okay, so I'm not gonna use me as an example at the moment. So maybe this will be helpful. Let's say that I play the violin or the flute or some instrument really well, and that's so distracting. So I play an instrument. And this is what I do. So I'm going to take it a step back and talk about like the wellness. You know what? Let's talk about the wellness side, like being a person and then what we do. Okay. So there's two different ways in which we communicate. We communicate first with ourselves and then we communicate with others. We communicate with others because we need to make connections with others in order to survive. We need to make a connection with ourselves in order to actually be able to make a connection with others to then survive. So it's this step-by-step process. So we actually create, everyone's inherently creative to varying degrees. People who think they're not creative, it's simply because they haven't given themselves the time, or maybe they haven't been provided the time to find their own internal voice and way of communicating with themselves. Why we do this. I'm just going to go into this for like 5 minutes so this actually makes sense. So what does it mean to connect and communicate with yourself in order to do that with other people? Because those are huge terms that a lot of people throw around, but they don't define. Okay. So feelings are actually our body's way of understanding information from our internal or external environment prior to societal language, like what I'm saying right now. So when we feel things, a lot of people discount, gut feelings like, oh, I just feel that way. It's okay you can't put it into words because it's a feeling that you innately understand. And unfortunately, no man-made construct such as language will ever be able to translate that holistically. But we try. So what you need to do is actually, so when we have any sort of feelings, we actually need to process them. Now, feelings are literally just our body's recognition of information from our internal or external environment. If you don't think about it, if you look at something and you're reading a book, but you're not processing what you're reading, you're not going anywhere. You're not moving on to the next page because you didn't take in what's on this current page, right? You have no idea what's going on, and you're stuck, right? So think about that. When we don't process our feelings, which is just information around us, we're actually stuck mentally, maybe physically, in the same place until we process and parse that information that we've taken in. So this is where creativity comes in. We're all innately creative to varying degrees. Without creativity, we couldn't communicate, right? Because when we're born, for example, we're just like a bundle of feelings. We cry to communicate we're hungry, tired, whatever, our basic needs, and they need to be met. So we use our creativity to actually process our feelings by first communicating with ourselves and recognizing those feelings or that information that needs to be dealt with, such as, I'm hungry, and then we're able to communicate it with others. Did you guys follow that to this point?
That was, I feel like a little bit mind blown by what you're saying about reading a book and that whole analogy. That was amazing.
Oh, okay, thank you. Good. Okay. As long as you're like more or less with me, because this goes to answering everything you said, and this is actually what I will be writing and talking about. So there you go. Like on my platforms, right? So all that said, to say, people say the word communication as though it's like a single thing. People are like, you're not communicating with me, or like, he struggles to communicate or something, right? But actually, there's really two different modes of communication. There's communicating with oneself in order to then communicate externally with the world around us, right? So ultimately, we need to be able to understand our own system as a person in order to then connect with the greater system we are in of society, so we can connect with others and meet those needs. And this is why connecting with oneself, as I've been saying, is so important to do first in order to connect with others. A lot of people have this desire to say, like, I can do all these things, I have all this stuff to share, and I want other people to like me or like this information or know it or all this stuff. And that was me like several years ago, which is why like now I understand why I had this problem. I was trying so hard to communicate with everyone else before I really processed a lot of the why I had this need, why I was doing this, and so on. I hadn't processed and parsed some past information that was sitting in me in order to actually connect with other people after that, right? Because when we're trying to, I don't know your friend, but this can speak to anxiety and why a lack of connection, seeing other people being hurt as well, like with a pandemic, it can be like scary, detrimental, and so on. A lot of this could come from needing validation. I want to say a majority of people, like a blanket statement, majority of people like in the whole world, they think who they are. How do I put this? They're actually a culmination of the projections of others placed onto them. A lot of people don't know who they are. And so they chase other people's validation in order to constantly reaffirm this idea of who they are. But of course, it never feels right. That's why you chase the validation, to to hear someone else say, oh yeah, that's right, that's who you are, because you just don't know yourself, right? So a lot of people who are doing that, they put themselves out there, they try to do all this stuff, and maybe they are trying to monetize something they do. A typical symptom of seeking validation, especially if you've gone through a trauma, especially if you were socially awkward, uncomfortable, experienced, like not fitting in, a bad relationship, like layers, literally anything. This is something that I want to say most, if not all, entrepreneurs, a lot of them start out this way, whether they overcome this and get in touch with themselves or not as humans beyond the marketplace. Hopefully they do. But typically it's like, let me build something external to me to make me feel better and so I can really exist out in society. But they're not taking care of them as a human first. And it's hard to do that when, yes, you need money to actually live in order to like exist as a human. It's a ridiculous process. So this is why I am incredibly hyper organized, because there's a lot of stuff I want to do. There's a lot of stuff I like to do. And I know that I need money in order to survive. But I won't be fulfilled. I probably won't be very happy. I'll probably be anxious and scared if I'm not working on me first or simultaneously. So with your friend, for example, who is starting a Twitch channel, right? And he is like very overwhelmed with what's going on in the world. I mean, I don't blame him. Wow. And it's actually a detriment to what he's doing and he's trying to do to make money just to survive right now. There's a disconnect, right? It's like there's some sort of lack of, connection he's feeling with people, which is actually rooted in a lack of connection with himself right now. And this can be a really difficult time during a pandemic when we are isolated, social distanced, alone. We have to confront ourselves and deal with a lot of stuff that maybe we didn't deal with and are totally unaware that there's anything to deal with at all. We just know, like, I need to survive. People are in survival mode and they're like, how can I do this? What can I do? So this is where the non-me example plays into this. Your friend is, is he actually like playing video games on Twitch? Because I know people use Twitch for like all different things.
Yeah, he uses it for gaming, and he streams himself as well, but it's mostly like commentary on the games he's playing.
Okay, so this is like something that he would really do anyway. Like everyone's playing video games, right? Now he's just trying to monetize it. But it's like if I played a violin, right, for myself for years, and then I thought, oh, why don't I make some sort of website or like a social media profile where I'm playing violin, right? And then people, maybe they can, click on maybe I make a Patreon. It literally took me 10 minutes. I made one earlier. And they can subscribe and, pay me $5 a month to support me composing new stuff for the violin, which I would play anyway, right? But let's say that I'm getting really overwhelmed, like, oh my God, there's so much going on out there. And it's like preventing me from focusing on this. He is not playing a violin is a form of communication. It's a form of creativity. It's for yourself, right? So you have to be very secure in who you are and your connection to yourself and understanding who you are as independent of other people and who they told you are, in order to actually monetize, right? Like part of your creativity. Now, I don't play a ton of video games, so maybe video gaming is his form of social connection, maybe something like that. But it sounds like, and this is where it's like kind of tricky because there's actually a lot of layers behind monetizing what you're doing. Like there's tools and resources, and then there's like, why are you doing this? Something's missing if you're overwhelmed, and not because of the tools, right? It's the psychology part. So there's something missing for him where like there is something he is not dealing with honestly or communicating to himself. And it's, I mean, like if someone's having anxiety attacks, you know, there's definitely like, there's ways to deal with that. And that's where you can't just say, I'm trying to build something and make money, but, you know, life is getting in the way, right? So it's one of those, that was such a big question. That's why I like worked backwards and started over here and came back to this, because if the struggle is not with the technology itself, you know, that you're trying to use to monetize something, and the struggle is interpersonal, then there's something else he's actually struggling with, and the fear of needing to survive right now and make money pushed him to this place that he just can't be right now, because he needs to deal with this other thing. And once you deal with this other thing, it's gonna be easier for him. So that was a lot. Did that first make sense, and second, answer where you were trying to go?
First of all, you are extremely perceptive. Very, very, like, very impressed with that answer. So thank you.
Oh, thank you.
That definitely answered everything.
Okay.
I feel bad. I sort of like took the conversation that route, but I was really curious about that, because I know like there's a lot of benefits to monetizing yourself, but there are some roadblocks that you might encounter along the way, such as yourself.
Exactly.
So I'm wondering now if anybody, hey Jose, if anybody, Jose,
hey,
or
Nick. Hi Geena.
Hi.
Good to see
Good,
you.
you? I've been shadowing from the back. Have to jump off in 2 minutes.
Oh,
It's been very interesting points Geena has to make.
Thank you.
Thank you so much, Jose. Thanks for coming.
Yeah, I joined late, but very interesting.
Thank you. And Sean, do you have any questions? I feel bad I sort of took over.
No, that was great, because
No, no problem. Yeah, I don't have any questions. This is super informational and definitely getting a lot of perspective on everything.
Oh, I'm so
So,
glad.
Geena, maybe to close out, maybe for the last bit, you could kind of show us your Patreon and show us like, how you're doing.
Sure. I mean, like, this is actually pretty funny. So I'm going to share like a few links in the, what's it called, discussion rooms, #big table section after this. But I was like, wait a second. Oh wait, I have to share. I'm sharing the screen. Here we go. Oh, open system preferences. And then my entire, here we go. And I will add this. And then, I'm sorry, I didn't know I had to do that part. Okay, good. And now we'll share my application window. And then tell me if are you seeing stuff? Like, what are you guys seeing?
Have you shared yet?
Okay, I have tried to share. Let's see. I did that. I hit share. It's not happening. There's something in my system preferences I'm obviously not doing. Okay. Cool. So
maybe alternatively then,
I can give you the link.
After you could give us the link. That'll be good.
It's just, it's Patreon.
Yeah, I just wanted to say hi, super quick. How are you?
Good.
I'm 210. Trying to pause and listen to you at the same time. Very sorry.
No problem.
But I also just wanted to support you, and I'm missing you around, so it's great to see you.
Actually, I just moved back to Syracuse, so hi. I will be around. Yeah, we should do something. I know. If you're physically here.
Cool.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, so let me text you this weekend, and hopefully we can like socially do something up or something.
Yes, I love it. Thank you. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
So good to see you. Bye, everyone.
Bye. So yes, quick note, and I will put, again, this link down below, but it's just patreon.com/myname, Geena Matuson. And I'm still setting it up. I haven't launched it yet. It's happening. But the whole thing was, again, like, I'm a huge resource sharer, and this goes back to the beginning to blogging. Like, you don't have to have some certificate of authenticity or whatever to say you're an expert in something. Like, you have an opinion, you're interested in it, you're engaged in it, you're experiencing it, you're reading about it, whatever. Write about it, make videos about it, do whatever that thing is. And then add the ads, whether it's YouTube ads or on a blog, Google AdSense, and so on. And then ultimately, you're just talking about and sharing what you love anyway. And it's so satisfying. Like, it's, going back to the violinist idea for, example for a second, you don't need to do a blog. You don't need to do YouTube. You can make an Instagram showing videos of you playing. And then maybe you, like I said, make a Patreon where people can watch other videos you make if they pay, or you can actually make compositions for people. Whatever. It's like you're basically building your own community around what you love to do. And the more time you spend on it, the more time you'll be given to spend on it, right? Because more people will come to you. You'll make more profit from everything that you're pulling in, allowing you to spend more and more time on that thing. So, yeah. I don't know. It was a lot. That was a little wrap up.
Lovely. Yeah. I definitely recommend everybody check that out. I feel like this 55 minutes with Geena has been so insightful that I don't think I'm ready to even view page 1 of the 300-page resource guide.
Oh my God,
that
I
you
know.
put together in your Patreon.
Yeah, I'll share little bits over time. Like, it's all right. I won't overwhelm you all at once. Yeah.
But I just wanted to open it up for any last questions, and just a big, big, big thank you to Geena for being here today.
Thank you. This is great.